go. He's live. He's live. Get excited. Try and do it better than you did the last time. As you can see, I'm just messing around with live streaming and have absolutely no idea how to present myself, as I'm mostly the other side of the camera. I mean, face for radio. Come on, everybody. Yeah. Don't bother about putting anything in the comments about my hairline. It's tragic. Anyway, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about the GH6, which is a phenomenal new camera which is on its way, mystically and magically, from somewhere in Japan, where someone very clever is fashioning this camera. And you know what? We've been given this update just the other week to tell us all about it. So, without further ado, let's just... oh, there we go. There's me. It's the return of Micro Four Thirds. Is it? Probably. Yeah. There you go. Off with that one. Let's now do something else so that we can see what it is I'm going to talk about. Make me smaller. Just like that. So here's the update from Lumix about the GH6. It's a Micro Four Thirds camera. You know, Micro Four Thirds? That's right, no one's talking about Micro Four Thirds because of course in the last 2 or 3 years everyone's been going absolutely bonkers over full frame cameras. You know, and they are really, really good. I myself had a GH5 and a Blackmagic pocket camera, and I've sold the GH5 and gone full frame with Lumix. And I have to say, they've been brilliant and totally worth it, paid for themselves. However, I still have my Micro Four Thirds glass, and there are certain things which the GH6 could bring to my full frame lineup. Okay, so here's where the great value and interest comes from. This is why I'm, you know, kind of fizzy over the whole thing. So the GH6 apparently is going to have this brand new image sensor. No word on it being good in low light, but fingers crossed it's got something that can give us an image at kind of 6400 ISO, nice and clean. What they have said about it is that it's going to do 10-bit 422 60, 10-bit 120 frames a second in 4K, and it's going to do 5.9K at 60. Now that was a lot of numbers, and I've just thrown them straight at you. But let's just say this. Bigger is probably better, in as much as the data rates on these Lumix cameras aren't incredibly high, so you're going to be able to always capture really high resolution images even if you're only delivering at 1080p. I still mostly deliver at 1080p, but I shoot 4K, and I have, since the S1 got its update to 5.9K, shooting higher resolution, just so that I know that if I want to punch in, if for some reason the client says, can you obscure this part of the image, I can just zoom in and there won't be any issue with the look of the video. So the GH6, I'm no word on the batteries. As a previous owner of a GH5, I've got a ton of those batteries. I really hope that I can still use them and I won't have to just ditch them, because, you know, legacy things, these are all the things that beyond buying a camera you're always faced with. In a similar vein, I hope that it has the same footprint as the GH5, because I've got rigs. I've got my rigs for the GH5, and it would be great just to be able to put it on a cage just to secure it, and, you know, a set of rails, a follow focus, that kind of thing. Now, speaking of follow focus and lenses, Lumix have also mentioned about a brand new lens. Now, this is particularly interesting because it's a lens which covers from a 20 to 100 millimeter 35mm equivalent, which is pretty awesome. It's similar-ish to the 24 to 105 Lumix lens, which I'm being filmed on right now. I've owned that since I bought my S1, and it's been fantastic. I shoot mostly corporates, so I don't do sports or wildlife, and in that, with that being said, it's been brilliant. You can crop in on the full frame sensor, and no doubt you'll be able to crop in on the Micro Four Thirds sensor as you used to do on the GH5, and utilize their mystical and magical digital zoom, which I've always found to be really very good on the GH5. That's really a reason. One reason I wanted to keep that camera is just because it was so versatile, certainly with something like the 12 to 35 Mark II lens. So yes, we've got this GH6 camera coming out, and I find that curious, and in as much as there hasn't been a lot of traction over the last few years. We've only had a clutch of cameras from companies like Olympus. We've had a few from Panasonic. They just kind of brought out, pushed over the line, the GH5 Mark II and their little box camera, which was kind of nice. But again, these haven't been breakthrough cameras. They've kind of reused what appears to be the GH5S's sensor. So, and no real major developments in terms of things like 4K, 120, that sort of thing. Now, moving on from that, in terms of development, where it can go, my gut feeling is that we're going to see Lumix switch. Here it comes. From contrast to phase detect. There, I said it. I really do think it's time for them to step up and make that change. Other manufacturers, including Olympus, with their Micro Four Thirds, are using phase detect, and it's shown to work brilliantly. So I just don't see how the boardroom at Panasonic is really going to play this one out if they don't, because they're just going to cop so much flack, unless they can do something, of course, equally as good as phase detect. I mean, I can't think they're going to do something different, but so no, I just think they're going to go with it. And that's kind of how things work, generally speaking. You'll find the lower end camera will get the higher end spec, the higher end people will jump on it and get it anyway, and it'll continue to blaze the trail. If they really want the GH6 to knock it out the park, phase detect has to be phase detect, and just that improvement in low light. To be honest with you, just those two things alone would get me straight back in on it. The fact that it's going to shoot 4K 60, 5.9K 60 and 4K 120, those are just cherries on the cake. So for me, as you can probably tell, I'm excited about this. I think it's going to be great. And I also, my final, in summation, I should say, is that beyond it being a great camera to add in with my S cameras, I'm also excited about having a camera that's small and compact and that I can take with me around day to day. I can film family events, or it's just another smaller, lighter weight camera that I can stick in my bag and not, you know, break my back when I'm having to go and film stuff. Full frame's fantastic, but the kit is heavy, it is bigger, and I really do see that there is a place for Micro Four Thirds. You can get shallow enough depth of field. This new lens, even if it's a f1.7, that is a full frame equivalent of what, somewhere around f4, something like that. Well, if you've ever used a full frame lens and wanted to get everything in focus, well, f4 is still pretty shallow. Still fairly shallow and, you know, good for separation. So there, that's it. That's my thoughts on the GH6, which will be out by the end of 2021. If you're a GH5 or a Lumix user, let's have some comments down below. What do you think about it? Are you keen to see the GH6, or would you then wait out for the next lot of full frame S-line cameras? Will they come with phase detect autofocus? And if you own a Blackmagic camera, does this make you want to sell your Blackmagic pocket camera? It's certainly making me want to sell mine. Anyway, that's it for now. Until next time, I'm Adam Loretz from the Filmmakers Workshop saying bye for now.